Tiana hadn't talked to her dad in almost 3 years. Not a call, not a text, nothing. The 22-year-old was trying to finish college and build her own life while the memory of her parents' messy breakup still hurt deep down. She was sitting in her small apartment, sorting through her mail after a long day of classes when she saw it. A fancy cream-colored envelope with gold lettering. Her heart skipped when she saw her dad's name in the return address. "What does he want now?" she mumbled, sliding her finger under the flap. Inside was a wedding invitation. Her dad was getting married again, just 4 years after leaving her mom. The bride's name was Nicole, a woman 15 years younger than him. Tiana had never even heard her dad mention this woman before. What really stung was the little note her dad had written at the bottom. "I'd love for you to be there, but I understand if you choose not to come." Tiana threw the invitation on her coffee table and paced around her living room. 4 years. And he couldn't even call me about this? Just sends a card like I'm some distant cousin or old work friend. She picked up her phone to call her best friend Zoe, but stopped herself. First, she needed to calm down. She made herself some tea and sat by her window, watching the rain fall outside. The last time she saw her dad was at her 19th birthday dinner, an awkward meal at a restaurant where he spent half the time checking his phone. He had moved to another city after the divorce, saying he needed to find himself. Meanwhile, her mom had to work 2 jobs to keep their house. Her mom never talked much about why they split up. "We grew apart," was all she would say, but Tiana remembered the fights. The late-night arguments when they thought she was asleep. Her dad coming home later and later. The suspicious phone calls he would take outside. The teacup warmed Tiana's hands as memories flooded back. There was that Christmas when her dad missed dinner because of car trouble. The time she found her mom crying in the bathroom, trying to hide it when Tiana walked in. All those business trips that seemed to get longer and more frequent. Maybe Nicole was already in the picture back then, Tiana whispered to herself. The thought made her stomach twist. She picked up the invitation again, running her fingers over the fancy paper. The wedding was set for next month at some expensive hotel. Her dad had moved on completely, building a whole new life without even trying to fix the one he left behind. Tiana's phone buzzed with a text from Zoe, "Movie night still on." She had forgotten about their plans. "Be there in 30, she texted back, grateful for the distraction. As she got ready to leave, she tucked the invitation into her drawer, but couldn't stop thinking about it. Something felt off. Her dad, who barely kept in touch, suddenly wanted her at his wedding? Why now? That night, Tiana couldn't focus on the movie. While Zoe laughed at the comedy on screen, Tiana's mind kept drifting back to the invitation. Earth to Tiana, Zoe waved a hand in front of her face. "You haven't heard a word I've said." "Sorry," Tiana sighed. "My dad's getting married again." Zoe's eyes widened. "Wow, to who?" "Some woman named Nicole. Never met her. Never even heard about her until today." "Are you going to go?" Tiana shrugged. "I don't know. Part of me wants to see what she's like. The other part doesn't want to give him the satisfaction. Maybe it's a chance to get some answers," Zoe suggested, "about why they really split up." Later that night, as Tiana lay in bed unable to sleep, she realized Zoe might be right. Maybe this wedding was her chance to finally understand what happened to her family. Why her dad had walked away so easily. Why her mom still got that sad look in her eyes on anniversaries. "I need to know the truth," she whispered in the darkness of her room, making up her mind. She would go to the wedding, but not to celebrate. She needed answers, and she would get them, no matter what. Spring break finally arrived, and Tiana headed home to her mom's house. She hadn't mentioned the wedding invitation to her mom yet. How could she? "Hey mom, the man who broke your heart is getting married again, and he invited me." That conversation wouldn't go well. Instead, Tiana decided to use the break to clean out her old bedroom. Her mom had been asking her to go through her childhood things for months now, saying she might turn the room into a home office. "Just donate whatever you don't want," her mom had said before leaving for her shift at the hospital. Tiana started with her closet, pulling out boxes of high school memorabilia, old clothes, and forgotten birthday gifts. 3 hours in, her room looked worse than when she started, with piles everywhere labeled keep, donate, and trash. She was reaching for a dusty box on the top shelf when it slipped, spilling its contents across the floor. Old photo albums, birthday cards, and school projects scattered everywhere. "Great," Tiana muttered, getting on her hands and knees to gather everything up. That's when she saw it, a photo album she didn't recognize. The cover was plain blue leather with no title. Curious, she opened it and began flipping through. The first few pages showed family vacations from when she was little. Her mom and dad looking young and happy, Tiana between them with missing front teeth. She smiled at the memories, but the smile faded as she turned to the next section. These were more recent photos from about 5 years ago, before the divorce. Work events, company parties, her dad in suits with colleagues. Tiana was about to close the album when a particular photo caught her eye. It was her dad at some fancy hotel event. The banner behind him read Regional Sales Conference. But what made Tiana's heart pound was the woman standing next to him, her dad's arm casually draped around her shoulders. The woman looked strikingly like Nicole, his new fiancée. Tiana checked the date written on the back of the photo, May 15, exactly 1 year before her parents split up. Her hands started to shake. Was this Nicole? Had her dad been seeing her while still married to her mom? Tiana felt sick to her stomach. She grabbed her phone and zoomed in on the photo. The woman was wearing a name tag, but it was too blurry to read. She pulled up her dad's social media page. They weren't friends, but his profile was public, and found a recent picture of him with Nicole. Side by side, there was no doubt. Same smile, same distinctive mole near her left eyebrow. Sure, her hair was different now, but it was definitely her. "No way," Tiana whispered, her voice echoing in the empty house. He was cheating with her. That's why Mom was so upset. Suddenly, all those business trips, late nights at the office, and weekend work emergencies made perfect sense. Her dad hadn't just fallen out of love with her mom, he'd been having an affair. Tiana's sadness quickly turned to anger. Her dad had torn their family apart, and now he was parading around with the other woman like nothing had happened. She called Zoe immediately, her voice shaking. "I found something," she said when Zoe answered. A photo of Dad with Nicole from before the divorce. They were already together, Zoe. He was cheating on Mom. "Are you sure it's her?" Zoe asked. "Positive. And now I understand why he invited me to the wedding. He wants me to give them my blessing, to act like everything's normal. Like he didn't destroy our family for her." Tiana stared at the photo again. "I'm not going to let him pretend like it never happened," she said, her voice growing stronger. "He doesn't get to rewrite history." "What are you going to do?" Zoe asked, concern clear in her voice. Tiana was quiet for a moment. "I don't know yet, but I'm definitely going to that wedding. I need to know more about her." "About them? Why was she at his work conference? Does she work with him? How long were they really together?" She pulled up Nicole's social media profiles on her laptop. The accounts were mostly private, but Tiana could see enough to start piecing things together. Nicole had suddenly appeared in her dad's company photos 5 years ago. There were gaps in her posts, deleted content, carefully curated images. "I'm going to find out everything I can about Nicole," Tiana told Zoe. "Something doesn't add up." After hanging up, Tiana sat cross-legged on her bedroom floor, surrounded by the scattered photos and memories of her past. The truth was finally starting to emerge from the shadows of her parents' divorce, and it was uglier than she had imagined. "If you think I'm just going to smile and toast to your happiness," she said to her dad's image in the photo, "you've got another thing coming." As the sun set outside her window, Tiana began planning her next move. The wedding was still weeks away, giving her plenty of time for what she needed to do: investigate Nicole and discover just how deep the deception went. Tiana couldn't sleep that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw that photo. Her dad with his arm around Nicole at that conference, both smiling like they didn't have a care in the world. Meanwhile, her mom was probably at home, taking care of teenage Tiana, completely unaware of what was happening. The next morning, fueled by determination and 3 cups of coffee, Tiana started her investigation in earnest. She spread her research materials across her childhood desk: notebook, laptop, the photo from the conference, and her dad's wedding invitation. "Let's see what you're really about, Nicole," she muttered, cracking her knuckles before typing Nicole's full name into various search engines. The results were puzzlingly sparse for someone in their mid-30s. Nicole's social media only went back about 6 years. Before that, nothing, like she didn't exist. Tiana found Nicole's LinkedIn profile, which claimed she'd been a business consultant at several companies, including her dad's firm. But the job descriptions were vague, the dates fuzzy. What kind of consultant? Tiana wondered aloud, scribbling notes. And how did you meet my dad? Tiana decided to reach out to people who might know more. She remembered her dad's former assistant, Penny, who had always been kind to her. They were still Facebook friends, though they hadn't spoken in years. She sent Penny a casual message. Hey, long time no talk. I just got Dad's wedding invitation. So excited to finally meet Nicole. Did you work with her when she consulted for Dad's company? The response came faster than expected. Hey Tiana, so good to hear from you. About Nicole, can we talk on the phone instead? Tiana's heart raced as she dialed Penny's number. I wasn't sure if I should say anything, Penny said after they exchanged pleasantries. Your dad would probably be upset if he knew I was talking to you about this. About what? Tiana pressed. Penny lowered her voice. About Nicole. She came to the company as a consultant, but honestly, none of us could figure out what she actually did. She had an office, sure, and she went to meetings. But her reports were full of business jargon that didn't mean anything. Tiana's pen moved quickly across her notebook. So how did she stick around? There was a long pause. She and your dad started seeing each other almost immediately. At first, they tried to hide it, but everyone knew. Then she got more confident, started making decisions, telling people what to do. And no one said anything. Tiana asked, struggling to keep the anger from her voice. Your dad was the boss, honey. Plus, Penny hesitated again. There were some financial issues around that time. Money missing from client accounts. An internal investigation started, but then it suddenly stopped. When I asked about it, I was told to mind my own business. Tiana's stomach dropped. You think Nicole was involved? I don't know for sure, Penny said carefully. But right after the investigation was dropped, she threatened to go public about her relationship with your dad if anyone questioned her role at the company. He was still married to your mom then. It would have been a huge scandal. So everyone just looked the other way, Tiana said bitterly. I left soon after, Penny admitted. I couldn't work in that environment anymore. I always felt terrible about what happened. Your dad was a good boss before she came along. She changed him. After thanking Penny and promising to stay in touch, Tiana sat back in her chair, trying to process what she'd learned. This was worse than she thought. Nicole wasn't just the other woman. She might have been manipulating her dad, maybe even stealing from his company. Tiana dug deeper, searching for Nicole's previous workplaces. She found a business newsletter mentioning Nicole's brief stint at another firm several years earlier. Using her student account, Tiana accessed newspaper archives and found something interesting. A small article about financial irregularities at that same company right around the time Nicole left. No charges were filed, but the timing was suspicious. Tiana's phone rang, startling her. It was her mom. Hey, sweetie, I'm heading home. Want me to pick up some dinner? Tiana looked at her clock. She'd been researching for hours. Sure, Mom. Actually, can we talk when you get home? There's something I need to ask you about. Everything okay? Her mom sounded worried. Yeah, I need to know more about the divorce. The real reason you and Dad split up. The silence on the other end of the line spoke volumes. We'll talk when I get home, her mom finally said, her voice tight. Tiana stared at her wall of evidence, the photos, the notes, Penny's story, the article about the financial problems. The pieces were falling into place, revealing an ugly picture. Nicole had worked her way into her dad's company, possibly stolen money, and used their affair as leverage to avoid consequences. And now her dad was about to marry this woman. Tiana's phone pinged with a message from Zoe. Any updates on your investigation? More than I bargained for, Tiana typed back. I think Dad's fiancée might be a con artist, and I'm about to confront Mom with what I know. She looked at the wedding invitation again, the fancy script announcing the union of her father and Nicole. Tiana had started this wanting to understand her parents' divorce, but now she was uncovering something far more sinister. What are you really after, Nicole? Tiana whispered to the smiling face in the photo. And how far will you go to get it? Tiana heard her mum's car pull into the driveway. Her heart pounded as she gathered her evidence, the photo from the conference, her notes from talking with Penny, and printouts of the articles she'd found about Nicole's past companies. Her mum walked in carrying takeout bags that smelled like her favorite Chinese food. She looked tired from her hospital shift, her scrubs wrinkled and her hair pulled back in a messy bun. I got your favorite, extra spring rolls, her mum said with a forced smile, clearly anxious about their upcoming conversation. They set up dinner at the kitchen table, the same table where they'd had countless family meals when Tiana was growing up. Back when things were normal, before everything fell apart. After a few minutes of awkward small talk about work and school, Tiana couldn't wait any longer. Mom, I got a wedding invitation from Dad, she said, watching her mom's face carefully. He's marrying someone named Nicole. Her mom's chopsticks froze midway to her mouth. She set them down slowly and nodded. I heard from a friend that he was engaged again. Did you know it was Nicole? The woman in this photo. Tiana slid the conference picture across the table. Her mom glanced at it, then looked away quickly. That was all the confirmation Tiana needed. You knew she was the other woman, didn't you? Why didn't you ever tell me? Her mom pushed her food away and sighed deeply. What good would it have done, Tiana? Would knowing your father cheated have made the divorce easier? Would it have hurt less? It would have been the truth. Tiana's voice rose. Instead, I spent years wondering what went wrong, thinking maybe it was somehow my fault. Oh, honey. Her mom reached across the table for Tiana's hand. None of it was your fault. Never, not for a second. So it's true. Dad was having an affair with her. Her mom nodded, tears welling in her eyes. Yes. I found out about 6 months before we separated. There were messages on his phone. He denied it at first, then promised to end it. But he didn't. And you just let him go? You didn't fight for your marriage? Tiana pulled her hand away. Pain flashed across her mom's face. I did fight, Tiana, for months. But your father had made his choice. Eventually, I had to make mine, to keep my dignity and move forward. Tiana felt a rush of shame for doubting her mom. I'm sorry. I wish I had known. I wanted to protect you from the ugliness. Your relationship with your father was already strained. I didn't want to make it worse. Her mom dabbed at her eyes with a napkin. Plus, your father begged me not to tell you or make a public fuss. He said it would ruin his reputation, his career. He agreed to the divorce settlement and to cover your college expenses if I kept quiet. So you took the deal, Tiana said softly. I did what I thought was best for you. For us? Her mom's voice was steady now. A messy public divorce wouldn't have helped anyone. Tiana took a deep breath. There's more. I talked to Penny, Dad's old assistant. She said there were financial problems at Dad's company around the time Nicole showed up. Money missing from accounts. An investigation that suddenly got shut down. Her mom's expression changed. I didn't know about that part. And I found an article about similar issues at another company where Nicole worked before. It's like she has a pattern. Tiana pushed her research across the table. Mom, I think Nicole might be taking advantage of Dad. Maybe even stealing from him. Her mom leafed through the papers, her brow furrowed. This is concerning. What should I do? Should I warn Dad? Would he even listen to me? Her mom was quiet for a long moment. Your father is a stubborn man, Tiana. When he makes up his mind about someone, she shook her head. But if what you're suggesting is true, he could be in real trouble. There's something else, Tiana said, hesitating. When I was talking to Penny, she mentioned that Nicole threatened to expose their relationship if anyone questioned her at the company. She basically blackmailed Dad. Her mom's eyes widened. And now he's marrying her? Oh, Tiana. They sat in silence for a moment, the weight of everything they'd discussed hanging in the air between them. When I confronted Nicole, her mom finally said, her voice so quiet Tiana had to lean in to hear, she told me something I still can't believe. She said I should be grateful she was taking him off my hands. That I wasn't the first wife she replaced, and that men like your father were easy targets, successful, insecure, desperate to feel young again. Tiana felt cold. She admitted she was using him. More than that, she seemed proud of it. Her mum looked up, her eyes suddenly fierce. I thought she was just cruel, but maybe she was telling the truth. Maybe this is what she does. Tanana stared at the wedding invitation on the table. 2 weeks until the ceremony. 2 weeks to decide what to do with everything she'd learned. Should I go to the wedding? She asked. Try to talk to Dad. Her mom reached across the table and took Tiana's hand again. This time, Tiana didn't pull away. That's your decision, honey, but whatever you choose to do, be careful. If Nicole is the person you think she is, confronting her won't be easy. As they sat there, hands clasped across the dinner table, Tiana realized that for the first time in years, she and her mom were truly united. The truth had finally come out, painful as it was. And now they faced a difficult question together. How do you save someone who doesn't know they need saving? Tiana spent the next week going back and forth on what to do. She paced her mom's living room late at night, made pro and con lists, and called Zoe multiple times a day to talk through her options. If I confront Dad before the wedding, he might not believe me, she told Zoe during their daily video chat. You know how stubborn he is. He'd probably think I'm just trying to ruin his big day because I'm still mad about the divorce. Zoe nodded, her face serious on Tiana's laptop screen. But if you wait until the wedding itself... I know. It's super dramatic, like something from a movie. Tiana flopped onto her childhood bed. But what choice do I have? If he marries her, Nicole will have legal access to everything he owns. The weight of the decision kept Tiana up at night. She wasn't just deciding whether to attend her dad's wedding, she was deciding whether to blow up his life. Even after everything, she still cared about him. One night, unable to sleep, Tiana tried a different approach. She searched for Nicole's previous names and aliases that she'd uncovered during her research. One search hit paid off, a small-town newspaper article from 8 years ago featuring a photo of Nicole, then using the name Natalie, with a wealthy local businessman. They were engaged according to the caption. 6 months later, the same paper reported the businessman had filed for bankruptcy due to unexpected financial mismanagement. Even more disturbing was what Tiana found when she searched court records with Nicole's various names. There were no criminal convictions, but several civil suits that had been settled quietly. In each case, a former employer or partner had accused her of fraud, only to mysteriously drop the case. She's done this before, Tiana whispered to herself, staring at her laptop screen in the dark, multiple times. The wedding was now just 1 week away. Tiana still hadn't RSVP'd, but she already decided she was going. She booked a flight to her dad's city and a room at a different hotel from where the wedding would be held. She didn't want to risk running into him or Nicole before she was ready. Zoe offered to come with her for moral support, but Tiana declined. This is something I need to do on my own, she told her friend. But thank you. The night before her flight, Tiana sat on her mom's porch swing, watching the sunset. Her mom came outside with 2 mugs of tea and joined her. You sure about this? Her mom asked, handing Tiana a steaming mug. No, Tiana admitted, but I'm doing it anyway. Her mom smiled sadly. You always were stubborn, just like your father. Is that a bad thing? Not always. Her mom sipped her tea. That determination got you through some tough times. They swung in comfortable silence for a while, watching the sky turn from orange to purple to deep blue. What if he hates me after this? Tiana finally asked, voicing her biggest fear. What if I'm wrong about Nicole and I ruin any chance at fixing things with Dad? Her mom considered this. Do you believe you're wrong about her? Tiana thought about everything she'd uncovered, the pattern of fraud, the blackmail, the mysterious disappearances from companies right after financial problems emerged. No, she said firmly. I think she's dangerous. I think she's using Dad, and when she's done with him, she'll leave him broke and move on to her next target. Then you need to follow your gut, her mom said. Your father might be angry at first. He might not believe you, but eventually he'll have to face the truth. Tiana nodded, feeling a strange mix of dread and relief. The decision was made. The next morning, she packed her bags, including a special outfit for the wedding, a deep burgundy dress that made her feel confident and strong. She tucked printouts of her research into a folder and saved digital copies on her tablet. "I'll call you after it happens," she promised her mom as they hugged goodbye at the front door. "Be careful," her mom whispered. "And remember, no matter what happens, you can always come home." On the flight, Chana rehearsed what she would say, how she would present her evidence. She tried to prepare for her dad's reaction: anger, disbelief, maybe even gratitude. She couldn't be sure. As the plane descended toward her dad's city, Tiana looked out the window at the sprawling streets and buildings below. Somewhere down there, her dad was preparing to marry a woman who was planning to destroy him. And only Tiana knew the truth. "I'm coming, Dad," she whispered, pressing her hand against the cool airplane window. "Whether you want me to or not." The wedding day arrived with perfect weather, sunny skies, and a gentle breeze. Tiana stood in her hotel room, staring at her reflection in the mirror. The burgundy dress fit perfectly, her curls were styled just right, and her makeup was flawless. She looked ready for a celebration, not a confrontation. Her hands trembled slightly as she placed her evidence, printouts of articles, bank records, and photos, into a sleek folder that matched her purse. She'd spent the previous day organizing everything, making sure her case against Nicole was airtight. "You can do this," she whispered to herself, taking a deep breath. "You have to do this." The wedding was being held at the Grand Lake Hotel, one of the fanciest venues in the city. Tiana's taxi pulled up to the entrance 2 hours before the ceremony. She wanted to get there early, to find the perfect spot, visible enough to be noticed, but not so close that she'd be immediately confronted. Walking into the hotel lobby, Tiana felt like her heart might pound right out of her chest. A sign with flowing script directed guests to the Wilson Parker wedding on the 3rd floor. Her dad and Nicole's names together made this all feel so real. Tiana followed a small group of guests into the elevator, trying to blend in. An older woman smiled at her. "Friend of the bride or groom?" the woman asked. Tiana hesitated. "The groom," she finally said. "He's my father." The woman's eyes widened. "Oh, I didn't know Robert had a daughter. He never mentioned." "We haven't been close lately," Tiana cut in, saving them both from the awkwardness. As the elevator doors opened to the 3rd floor, Tiana slipped away from the group. The ceremony wouldn't start for another hour and a half. She found a quiet corner near a potted palm and pulled out her phone to text Zoe. "I'm here. No turning back now." Zoe's reply came instantly. "You got this. Call me right after, no matter what happens." Tiana watched as the venue slowly filled with guests, business associates of her dad's, friends she'd never met, Nicole's people. She didn't recognize a single face. These were all from her dad's new life, the one that didn't include her. A waitress offered her champagne, but Tiana declined. She needed to stay completely clear-headed. Instead, she sipped water and observed everything: the elaborate flower arrangements, the string quartet warming up, the wedding coordinator rushing around with a clipboard. 30 minutes before the ceremony, Tiana spotted her dad for the first time. He was standing with the best man, adjusting his tie in a mirror. He looked older than she remembered, with more gray at his temples, but he was smiling, excited. For a moment, doubt crept in. Was she really going to ruin what looked like the happiest day of his life? What if she was wrong about Nicole? But then she remembered everything she'd uncovered, the pattern too clear to ignore. The businessman who went bankrupt after his engagement to Natalie. The company funds that disappeared whenever Nicole worked there. The previous identity she used before reinventing herself yet again. Tiana steeled herself. This wasn't about revenge for the divorce or punishing her dad for choosing Nicole over her mum years ago. This was about protecting him from someone who had done this before and would do it again. The guests began taking their seats. Tiana chose a spot in the middle section, about halfway back, not hiding, but not drawing attention either. She placed her folder on her lap ready. The music changed, signaling the start of the ceremony. Her dad and the officiant took their places at the front. The wedding party processed in pairs down the aisle. And then the music swelled as Nicole appeared at the back of the room, a vision in white. She was undeniably beautiful, with a perfect smile that didn't quite reach her eyes as she scanned the crowd. That's when Nicole spotted Tiana. The bride's steps faltered for just a second, her smile freezing in place. She recovered quickly, but Tiana saw it, the flash of panic in Nicole's eyes. Nicole leaned toward her bridesmaid and whispered something. The bridesmaid glanced back at Tiana, then nodded and slipped away as Nicole continued her walk down the aisle. Minutes later, as the ceremony began, Tiana noticed a security guard entering the room, scanning the guests. The bridesmaid pointed subtly in Tiana's direction. So that's how it was going to be. Nicole was trying to have her removed before she could say anything. Tiana's heart raced. Her original plan had been to wait for the speak now or forever hold your peace moment, but it was clear that wasn't going to work. The security guard was already making his way toward her row. Her dad looked so happy standing there, holding Nicole's hands, completely unaware of what was happening or what was about to happen. It was now or never. Tiana stood up suddenly, drawing the attention of nearby guests. "Dad," she called out, her voice stronger and steadier than she expected. The entire room went silent. Her dad's head turned, his expression shifting from confusion to shock to happiness when he recognized her. "Tiana," he said, his voice echoing in the quiet room. Nicole's grip on his hands tightened visibly. "We can talk to her after the ceremony, honey," she said through her perfect smile. But Tiana was already walking toward the front, folder in hand, security guard forgotten. "I need to talk to you," she said, looking directly at her father. "Right now, before you make a huge mistake." A shocked murmur rippled through the crowd. The security guard hesitated, looking to Nicole for direction. Her dad's face had gone from joy to confusion. "Tiana, what are you doing?" he asked, his voice low but carrying in the silent room. Nicole stepped between them. "This isn't the time or place, Robert. We can talk to your daughter after the ceremony." Her voice was sweet, but her eyes were cold as she glared at Tiana. "There won't be a ceremony," Tiana said firmly, stepping closer. "Not until you hear what I have to say." The officiant cleared his throat awkwardly. "Perhaps we should take a brief recess." "No," Nicole snapped, then quickly softened her tone. "I mean, let's continue. Security can handle this." The guard moved toward Tiana, but her dad held up his hand. "Wait. I want to hear what she has to say." Tiana opened her folder. "Dad, I've been investigating Nicole for weeks. She's not who you think she is." "How dare you?" Nicole hissed. "You show up after 3 years of barely speaking to your father, and now you think you can ruin our wedding." "Nicole Parker isn't even her real name," Tiana continued, ignoring the bride's outburst. She pulled out a document and handed it to her dad. "She's used at least 3 different identities in the past decade. Natalie Pierce, Minna Pahal, and now Nicole Parker." Her dad frowned at the paper. "What is this?" "Court records, Dad. Civil suits against her under different names. All dropped mysteriously after initial filings." Tiana pulled out more papers, and this is a news article about her previous engagement to a businessman named Roy Thompson. 6 months after they got engaged, he filed for bankruptcy due to what the paper called unexpected financial mismanagement. Nicole's face had gone pale under her makeup. "These are lies. All lies." "And this," Tiana said, pulling out the photo from the conference, "is a picture of you two from 5 years ago, when Mom thought you were happily married. You were cheating with her, Dad, but that's not even the worst part." Guests were whispering now, some recording on their phones, others looking uncomfortable. The best man stepped forward, trying to defuse the situation. "Hey, how about we take this somewhere private?" "No," Tiana said loudly. "Everyone needs to hear this. Nicole came to Dad's company as a consultant with fake credentials. Around the same time, money started disappearing from accounts. When an investigation started, she threatened to expose their affair if anyone questioned her." Her dad's face had gone from confusion to shock. "How do you know about the missing funds?" "That was handled internally." "Penny told me," Tiana said. "Your old assistant, and she's not the only one. I've talked to people from 3 different companies where Nicole worked. The pattern is always the same. She gets close to the boss, money disappears, and then she moves on with a new name, a new look, and a new target." Nicole lunged forward, trying to grab the papers from Tiana's hands. "You little." Her dad caught Nicole's arm, his expression hardening. "Is this true?" "Of course not. She's trying to sabotage us because she's still angry about the divorce. She's making this all up." Tiana pulled out her final piece of evidence, a tablet. She tapped the screen and turned it to face the crowd. These are bank records showing transfers from Dad's personal accounts to offshore holdings tied to Nicole's previous aliases. I found them by connecting the accounts mentioned in those dropped lawsuits. She looked directly at Nicole. You've been siphoning money from him for months, just like you did to the others. How much have you taken so far? 100,000. More? The color had completely drained from Nicole's face. Her eyes darted around the room, calculating. Robert, baby, you can't possibly believe this nonsense, she said, her voice trembling slightly. Your daughter shows up with some doctored photos and fake documents, and you're actually listening. But Tiana could see in her dad's eyes that doubt had taken root. He was looking at Nicole like he was seeing her for the first time. Dad, I know we haven't been close. I know you might be angry on doing this, but I couldn't let you marry someone who's only using you. Tiana's voice softened. Even after everything, you're still my dad. Nicole suddenly yanked her arm free from her dad's grip. This is ridiculous. I don't have to stand here and be accused by a jealous child. She turned to leave, but the security guard, who had been listening to everything, blocked her path. Ma'am, I think you should stay until we sort this out, he said firmly. Get out of my way, Nicole snarled, her sweet bride persona completely gone. She tried to push past him, but he didn't budge. Her dad stepped forward, his voice quiet but clear. If what Tiana is saying isn't true, then you have nothing to fear by answering some questions. Nicole looked trapped. The entire room watched as her face twisted with rage. Fine, you want the truth? Your precious daughter is right about one thing. You are an easy target. Successful, lonely, desperate for someone to make you feel young again, just like all the others. A collective gasp went through the room. Nicole smirked, realizing she had nothing left to lose. You think I actually wanted to marry you? I've taken enough already. The wedding was just going to be the cherry on top, half of everything you own once we divorced a year from now. The shock on her dad's face was painful to see. Tiana moved to his side. Security, please call the police, her dad said, his voice surprisingly steady. I want to press charges. Nicole's smirk vanished. You can't prove anything. Actually, Tiana said, I think we can. All those dropped lawsuits? I contacted the plaintiffs. They're willing to testify now, but they know you're still doing this. And Dad's company has all the records of the missing funds. She looked at her dad. I'm pretty sure identity fraud, embezzlement, and blackmail are all still crimes. As security led a furious Nicole away, the wedding guests began to leave, murmuring in shock at what they'd witnessed. Within minutes, only Tiana, her dad, and a few close friends remained in the decorated room that was supposed to have hosted a celebration. Her dad sat heavily in a chair, looking stunned. Tiana hesitated, then sat beside him. I'm sorry it happened this way, she said quietly. I tried to figure out how to tell you beforehand, but I was afraid you wouldn't believe me. He nodded slowly. I probably wouldn't have. He looked at her, his eyes tired but grateful. Thank you, Tiana. I don't deserve a daughter like you. Yeah, well, she said with a small smile, we've got a lot to work on there. For the first time in years, her dad reached out and took her hand in his. And Tiana, despite everything, felt a tiny spark of hope that perhaps they could rebuild what had been broken.